Here we are.
Yay.
We are live.
Welcome to Warrior Commission Now. We are live, and we have with us Byron Easterling today. So I'm very excited about the conversations we're going to get to have, but just wanted to welcome you. I'm Christine Casten.
And I'm Sharon Rudolph.
And this is Sharon Rudolph. And so we are in a place of just being so excited with the Lord today. So forgive our exuberance as we continue to move forward into this conversation. Byron is an amazing guy. He's been in ministry for a really long time. He's also a professional golfer at one point in his life. So he has a varied past and experiences, but he also just has such a passion for the Lord and for what's going on in this a ministry called New Era Explorers, and it is something that we would love for you guys to check out because there's a lot of wisdom in the study and the preparation that Byron's done for. But today we were going to talk about our core value or our why, and we wanted to see if we could tap into Byron's wisdom on that. So Byron, welcome.
Thanks.
To
Hi,
our Warrior Commission Now.
Hi all. Hi all. It's good to be back. Actually, we had a great event in April, and I got to shut that down. That was a beautiful moment. That was a beautiful moment for all of us.
Yeah.
It was good. And, you just never know what God's going to do in that.
Absolutely.
And so it just left us wanting more, Byron. I mean, that's all that I think. It just created a hunger in our hearts.
There you go. There you go. That's it. Yeah. It was good.
Yes.
I enjoyed it.
Well, good. It was great to have you. I mean, we're still pulling things from what you shared. There was so much that was released in just that conversation on Saturday morning with you and with Crystal, your wife.
Yeah.
And that was wonderful to have her input as well. And so, so I think we're going to be unpacking it for a long time, because it was deep.
Good.
It was really deep and lots of treasure.
She brings a level of understanding, obviously, that I don't. She has a different perspective, and I love that. Because it really creates a great fuller picture. And we have found that with a lot of our meetings that we do, that there's a great wisdom in the combined effort. Yeah, in our togetherness.
Well, you balance each other, right?
We do.
Husband and wife, and
sure.
And skills, and the way God wired you guys, and it's good. I mean, it's a great relationship, really, and one that we get to learn a lot from both of you. So it's very appreciated. And one of the things I didn't say, I guess, was that Byron, you're a father for our community as well in the Warrior Commission. You're someone who grants us some great perspectives and wisdom, and we just enjoy tapping into that as well. So, we lost Sharon. But
just for a minute, I'm back.
This is real and unscripted.
Yes. This is not pre-recorded. Well,
it is not.
We are, and that's,
like we said, it is live.
It is live. I love live. It's good.
It is live.
Definitely.
So you never know what you're going to get, but it's always fun. So Byron, we were going to talk about your why and your core value, kind of the core values that we have. So I was going to ask you why you feel it's important to know your identity in this way, and also what is your why?
Yeah, that's so for me. And I'll get into maybe we'll get into how it started for me, but. There's a general identity that we all carry as kingdom people, and we carry that identity of sons and daughters of a king. That's a general revelation of identity. We all carry that as kingdom people. So, I won't go there. There's argument even further on than that, but let's just say that's general revelation of our identity. that we all carry it. The second then is we each have specific identity, right? We each have that which we need to discover those specific identities that God has placed in our being because we want to be effective. We want to affect our community around us. I mean, don't we? I mean, I don't want to just wander through life not affecting people's lives. And by that, I mean really touching into people's hearts and into their spirit. And I guess for me, what I found was that my why is at the core of my identity. It's the relational aspect of the heartbeat of all my values. And my why, or my core value is connecting heartfelt, life-giving moments. So what that means is I want to experience heartfelt, life-giving moments, and I want you to experience heartfelt, life-giving moments every time we're together. So right now, my core value is that during this time, we'll touch on heartfelt, life-giving moments, and not just randomly wander through something, right? Yeah. So I feel like that's that big key for me with identity, the specific identity of who you are, is that why, or that core value, sets the foundation for everything you do. Yeah.
Byron, I love hearing that. And especially since we heard you at training days and the things that you shared, we can see that, yes, that is key to the words that you speak and the words you've shared with us so far.
Thank you.
In our friendship and in our relationship. But I'm wondering, how did you go about discovering your why? How did you find that? And how does that, well, you've shared a little bit, but I'd love for you to expand on how does that relate to your personal commission with the Lord? Well,
it started when I'm a big TED Talks guy. So I love, and that's for two reasons. One is because they have some really great stuff and interesting. And the second is a lot of them are very short. And it keeps my attention.
Yes.
You'll notice my podcast, it's 5 to 15 minutes. I was the guy that sat in the back of the class. Anyway, we won't go there. And so, I ran across this TED Talks by this guy named Simon Sinek. He's a marketing guy, but he did this TED Talks called the Golden Circle, and it was like a bullseye. And the outer circle is the what and the how, and the bullseye was the why. It's the what and the how and the why. And he just made a point. He said, most of us spend our lives operating out of our what and our how. And very few of us actually get to our why we actually do things. Now, he was coming from a marketing standpoint and talking with business people who are saying, why are you doing what you're doing? And that struck a chord with me. So I talked to a good friend of mine who is a counselor. He's a life coach. I'm sorry, my headset went wacky there for a minute. Live. Here we are live.
Yes.
Welcome.
We can hear you.
Yes, we can.
And is there a hum in the back? Are you hearing a hum? Oh, cool. Maybe that's just in my head. Oh, boy. So this man's name is Gary Cockcroft, and I actually have a link to his website. And what Gary has been a friend for a long time. He was a pastor in Texas, in Austin, for 27 years. He moved out to California. He now lives in Colorado. He coaches people all over the world, and he coaches on their why. But I was actually talking to him about this. Yeah. And he goes, oh, I've been thinking about this, and from a God perspective. So I would go out, I have my walks. I love my walks. And I would go out on my walks and I'd call Gary, or Gary would call me, and he would talk me through my why. He talked me through it. It took about, for me, 6 sessions. And every time I would come back, I'd come back and I'd say, I got it. I got my why. And I'd say it, and he'd go, no, that's a how, or that's a what. And I'm going, no, that's got to be my why, man. That's got to be my why. And every time, and he said, when we get to the point that you keep coming back to the same thing, you keep coming back around to the very thing that causes life for you to happen. And like I said, I went through it was probably a month and a half or 2 by the time it was all said and done for me, because again, I'm probably a little slower than most of you, but it was so clear once I got there that my why was, I want to live out of heartfelt, life-giving moments. I want to connect people and myself into heartfelt, life-giving moments. And everything I've ever done in life that has meant something to me has been through that. And it's an amazing process, guys. And it set everything up. So Sharon, to answer that second question was, well, how does it affect my commission personally?
Yeah.
I think that was the second question.
Yes.
Yeah. So it doesn't change the commission. It changes how I approach the commission. So it doesn't alter what God has asked me to do, but it takes the function of my commission and places it second. It places it as a part of it. I mean, faith without works is dead, correct? I mean, we have to know that function is not bad. People always say we're human beings, not human doings. And I'm going, no, we are both. We are both human beings and human doings. It's just where you start. And this created a way for me to start as a human being, as a part of my internal person, and how God has created me at the core of my being. And it makes me unique. It makes me who I am. And it causes me then to look at what I'm commissioned to do. Like, for one, is the Widows Project. Okay, I have the podcast that is my public place in life. But take the Widows Project. It changed everything for me, because it wasn't just a function of going down and rebuilding homes for widows in Central America. It wasn't just an action. It was, I want to meet these widows. I want to know them. I want to know what their lives are like. I don't want to just go down and build a house and then leave. I want to know that they're safe. I want to know that they're actually, that we've connected somehow. Now, I know I'm not going to connect. There's not going to be a super deep connection there. For one, language is a problem. But to go down and spend time in their home, or if you want to call it a home, and and see and sit in what chair they have, and have a translator there to help me through it, is all of a sudden I get to meet their life. I get to be a part of something other than just a group of, somebody building and rebuilding a home. Yeah. So.
But I think that's important, though, because when we step into the place that's our why, in our core value, and we do out of that, then what happens is there's something different in the connections that we make, because we're connecting more in what our heart is with other people's hearts. So we're pouring out of, in some sense, almost like our love language, our heavenly love language on others. And I think that's impactful, because for me, like, one of the most impactful things that I was able to do in a series of mission trips, but the one thing that stands out to me was being invited in someone's home where they gave me a cup of tea and some cookies or some crackers, and they had dirt floors, and they had and to me it was such a gift from them to host me and to connect, and for me it impacted my life greatly.
Yeah, when we go overseas, we've done a lot in Europe. God opened the doors for Europe quite a while ago, and I was doing 13 trips, 8 to 11 trips a year there for a while. And it was just, and we finally figured out it was better just to do a month or two at a time. But, people would say, oh, have you seen this or have you seen that? We're going, no, actually, we just stayed in someone's home and ate meals. And yeah, we would go out to restaurants once in a while, but it was family. We actually spent time in homes, and people would go, wow, we never thought about doing that. And it's like, yeah, and you really get to see the culture, but we've made lifelong friends because of that. And they're family to us. Yeah. And I think, anyway, yeah. So I wanted to, can I do this?
You have full permission to do whatever you want to do, Byron. We'll just go with it.
I wanted
Whatever's
to put,
on your heart.
I wanted to put Gary Cockcroft's, can I do that? His website?
I know that you could speak it out. You could definitely speak it out. I don't know how we could put it up necessarily.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that.
Right there.
Okay. It's in the chat.
It's in the chat. So I'll just leave it there, and please inundate him. Well, it's just a great part of it. And if anybody wants to, if that's okay, don't.
Yeah.
There's obviously no assumption.
In case you can't see the chat, it's Gary Cockcroft. That's COCKROFTS. And the website is pathways.net. So it's PATHWAYS.net.
Yeah, there's a hyphen.
Awesome.
There's a hyphen.
I'm sorry, path-ways.net. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, but if you want to put that in, anyway. Yeah, the guy is the most relational person I've ever met in my life. And, he comes from a different planet. And it's amazing. It's amazing. And he's helped a lot of people discover their why. And
awesome.
Some people know it almost intrinsically. And what's really interesting is in 1990, I hit a wall relationally that I couldn't get through or around, over. I couldn't dig under. God put a wall up in front of me that I call the wall of relationship, actually, because if you do the DISC profile, if you've ever done that before, or any of those personality profile, I'm a very high D. I'm a very high driven person. And the Lord, and so some of you are really going to go, you're so wrong, Byron, when I tell you this, because in 1990, basically the Lord said, I need you to make relationship a function. I need you to make that your primary goal in life is relationship, and let function come out of that, and let work and projects and other things come out of your relationships. And it's interesting that we're talking about this, because actually not this week, but next week's podcast is all about this.
Oh, good.
It's
and this is your podcast, New Era Explorers on Charisma.
Yeah.
Podcast Network. So
yeah. And this week, it's not this week, it's next week. It's the, whatever that is, May
2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
It's called My Bus, Our Bus. And it's what God did through all that process from 1990, and how I had to discover a whole new way of life, because everything was function based. I'm a driven individual. I'm still driven, but what God was, He changed my perspective of being driven for a project to being driven in relationship. Now, some of you are so relational that you go, oh my gosh, that's just a sickness, Byron. You need help. But for highly driven people, it was such a change for me, because I'm like, oh, I can study it, I can learn it, I can pursue it as a part of my life, and I needed that. I needed that for my family. I needed that for my friendships, you know. Yeah.
And
It
well,
changed.
and I think one of the things too, when you're function driven,
Yeah.
what happens is if you have relationships through that function, when the function changes, those relationships don't last because
That's
they're based
exactly.
around whatever that thing is, that event
Right.
or project or whatever that is. And so to have the longevity in relationships, a lot of it comes through placing the relationship as a priority, and then the function becomes secondary. So
Yeah.
I think that's what you're saying is that all of a sudden in that time or maybe through the process of learning to prioritize people over what was happening. And yet I would assume that the function still got done. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely better.
Yeah.
You know,
Awesome.
yeah, it's better because that's the whole point of my bus, our bus is that was what I began to discover, back then. And then all through the process is that I believe this is a part of the new era. I believe that people are tired of function-based church. I believe they're tired of function-based Christianity. Again, faith without works is dead.
Right.
So it's not taking away the works. It's simply, where do we begin? Where's the focus of where we begin? And that's what changed for me. And that's exactly what you're saying, Christine. And that's where we are. I'm in this place where it's like all of a sudden I was doing function based from my relationships, not from somebody who could fulfill the best.
Right.
It was from people who God was bringing across my path, going, they might not be the most qualified person for this position or this situation.
Right.
But they dug in deeper and harder because we knew at the end of the day, when the function ended, we would still have that friendship. We would still be, and something else can grow out of that. That's what's also cool. It's unlimited boundaries. What do you call it?
Limitless possibilities.
Well, and what's the boundaries? Boundaries. The event was called.
Oh, no boundaries.
No
Yes.
boundaries.
No boundaries. Yes.
Our training
No
days
boundaries.
event. Yes.
There were no boundaries. There's no boundaries. There's no limit to what can happen because it doesn't end the friendship. It builds the friendship into the next place because I'm gonna meet that person over a meal or in the house and over dinner or over coffee or whatever. And all of a sudden you start going, wow, I've got something on my spirit I got to tell you about. You just talk as friends, and all of a sudden they're like, I got to do that. So if you know anybody who's looking to run a widows program in Nicaragua, let me know. I'd like to meet them.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah. I mean, and I love what knowing our value, our core value means, at least to me. Mine has to do with unconditional love. Sharon, you have a core value you've discovered as well. Would you like to share that?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Uh-oh, you're going to get me started. Because my core value is freedom. And I want the people around me to live out of a place of freedom, to be who they are. That there's no shoulds and supposed tos. And yes, culture can be a good thing, but culture can be restrictive. So, and how do we connect with and interact with others from different cultures unless we're willing to truly let everyone operate out of their freedom in Christ to just be who they are and how they're wired? And that's really important to me. And with the coaches that I work with here in the Warrior Commission, yeah, we have a job they could do. But my question is, what's Holy Spirit put on your heart? Because I want you to serve out of how you're wired and what God's put in your heart, not the function. It can't be the function, because in this place of freedom in relationship and freedom to be who we are, everything's going to get done in the kingdom from God's heart. So let's see who people really are, and let's give them space to be themselves. So yes, freedom is huge for me. And that's something, it's interesting in this relational place. That's something Christine and I have had as we've learned to work together as directors. Each of us are unique in how we go about things and learning to work together. But we've been able to have relationship beyond just the function of this amazing commission that the Lord's given us and been able to be friends because we know how to let each other be who we are.
Yeah.
See, what I love is each of us are expressing our core value or our why that's so unique to the next person. And you can't, it expresses it in a few words, a single word or a few words. And it makes each person so unique. And that's what's so awesome about Dad, you know?
Yes.
That's what's so awesome about him. It's like he's, I just imagine him going, ooh, I like that one. Yeah, let's just put freedom on that person. And just, it's in the very DNA of your being, not just in your spiritual DNA, but the very DNA of your being. You can't separate out freedom. Sharon, you can't separate out that freedom from anything in your being.
So, in bringing in, pulling pieces together, because this is something I just have realized about myself in the past few years, and what the Lord has shown me is in my love of freedom, I love motion. I love motion, and I'm probably moving more now at my age than I did in terms of even just my own activity throughout my day than I did 10 years ago.
Wow. So true physical motion.
Yes.
You're talking about physical motion. Wow.
Yes.
That's cool.
Physical motion and the freedom to move.
Wow. So there's,
it's what I love how on this journey with God, nothing's ever stagnant. And there's always something to explore. And there's always something about himself that he reveals to us the more we learn to see ourselves the way he made us, as opposed to what we were told or thought we had to do. So much as our perceptions are off. So, Byron, the bringing in the why, I think really helps hone in the perceptions to be in alignment with God's heart. And that's what I was hearing from your story.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's been a process for me, and I think it's a process for all of us, but it's just maturing in Christ. It's learning new things. We're never done. Like you said, we're never done.
Right.
If eternity is increasing, if God's glory is ever increasing, according to Scripture, it's from glory to ever increasing glory. Yeah. I think there's an end to that, but who knows? But here, I don't see eternity as an end to now I know it all. Right. I see it as a continuation, but in a glorified situation. So we no longer have the situations of earth pressing down, but we have heaven, and we have this kingdom that we now operate out of a glorified form. But I think the ever increasing knowledge of God, how could we understand I don't know. Maybe we will. I don't know. He hasn't taken me there to see that, so I don't know. But I'm not quite sure where I was going with that, guys. But I just think what happened to me is the why became my why. Allowed me over the last, what is that? That's 30 years now in this process. And 30 years, I've been in ministry since 1979. So I hit 40 years last year of vocational ministry. We're all, my heart on that is we're all in ministry. We know that, but God called us into a vocational aspect of that. He provides for us through the ministry. So that's all it means to me. But in that, when I discovered that when I hit that wall of relationship, and all of a sudden that began to journey for me into a new expression of myself, that I think if I wouldn't have listened and really responded, I can't imagine the pain and suffering I would have caused in people's lives. Because it was, I'll tell you a quick story. So I was a worship leader for many years. I wrote music, and I had the privilege of writing music outside of worship as well. I wrote for the Olympics. I wrote track and field for the Olympics for CBS. I wrote the opening song for the Miami Heat, the basketball team. I had a lot of experiences writing custom music and producing music along the way. I was a piano player. Many of you saw me at conferences playing for Bob Book. He's, close friend, and that's a whole nother story.
Amazing worship leader.
Yeah. And he brought me back in when I was really worn out. Anyway, he made a way for me. But after one event, worship event, I don't think it was with integrity. I think it was just one of my own, or maybe with John Paul, when I was with John Paul, and Crystal was there. And I'd finished leading worship, and it was at the end, and some people were coming up to talk. And I was looking all around. That's just my nature is too many voices. I need to, it's too much, and too many voices. And I was having trouble focusing. And Crystal comes over and she says, Byron, those are people, not speed bumps. Don't run over them, just be present in the moment. And for me, my why has helped me be present more in the moment, and not always looking to the future, not always looking to what's next. I think practically speaking, it's helped me not just because I have a thought that I want to get out. It's helped me put that to the side and go, I want to hear what that person has to say now. And I don't need, actually Bob's wife, Barb, is great at this. If you ever get to meet her, she's a hoot. And she used to come up to me and just kind of slap me a little and say, be present in the moment. Be present in the moment. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'm present. And I think that's been a part of me helping me release my why. There has to be triggers that release that why, which, Sharon, for you, God's using emotion.
Yes.
to release your why. And for me, it's learning to be present. It's continuing. It's a constant battle for me. And I admit that.
Well, it's interesting that on my journey, my motion is part of what helps me be present.
Oh, wow. Whoa.
The motion is part of what, because I believe the why comes out when we are present, when we choose to be present in the moment, who we are, as God created, that created design from God, body, soul, spirit. It's that we're not just intellectual, we're not just emotional, we're who we are as the wholeness piece comes in when we choose. This is theology according to Sharon, but when we choose to be present in who we are in Jesus, there's a wholeness that comes to So our why does have a place to flow.
Mhm.
And some of it, there is that brain science piece. You meet someone and in 6 seconds, your brain connects with their brain
Mhm.
and you know them
Yeah.
and your spirit knows them.
Yeah. That's right.
And that's part of why that being present is so important.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, we've got a kingdom of God connection
Mhm.
that we wouldn't have had otherwise. Or the other person can see, hey, maybe there's something there I don't have.
Mhm.
Right. Right. Right.
But
I
it's the
think,
being present. No, go
no,
ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, I think when we choose to be present in the moment,
Yes.
there's something in the value of
Mm.
the other person, and there's an important exchange that happens when someone feels valued, and it's a choice for us to say, I value you enough to focus on you in this moment. My eyes are meeting yours. I'm looking at you. I'm hearing what you're saying, and that exchange is something that is priceless for so many people, because so many people are like, yeah, yeah, I'm listening, but you're not, and the idea of engaging with someone, especially in this world of, mobile engagement, as we all have our phones around us, but there's something really powerful about being present in the moment, because that's where you get to be who you are and you get to see who they are.
Yes.
Spoken from someone that is so you, man. That is, it's like, who better understands being present in the moment than somebody who has unconditional love as their why? I'm serious. Well, it just was, I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, that is so you, Christine. That is so you. It's that ability to be present in the moment and hear the voice. That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. I'm so fun to hear. So fun to hear. See, to put action behind your why. It's that whole thing of that thing I talked about actually on that Saturday morning, which is 2 words that have really stood out strong to me, are empowerment and activation. To be empowered and to be activated, and to activate is empowered is knowing, and activation is the expression of it. It's how does it actually work itself out, and empowerment. I think empowerment is easy to find. I think it's a discovery process, and we can do that. We have helpers. A lot of the Warrior Commission materials are meant for that. A lot of the discussions and conversations on Zoom and other places are meant for that. That's what they're doing, right? I mean, they're causing that to happen. There's people like Gary Cockcroft who do those kinds of things. They're really great at that. But it's that activation then. What is God doing in the moment? And for me prophetically, that's been a big part of my call, and my gift has been the prophecy. And I've found that over the years there's been seasons where he'll put me in. He'll take me through to learn a specific aspect of prophecy or of ministry, but specifically and especially prophecy. So it'll be, I want you to learn how to trust me without having something. For years, I would sit on my porch and I would write everything out on 5x7 cards, and God would show me where everybody sat, where they sat, and whether it was an audience of 50 or it was audience of thousands. And he would show me what they were wearing and what, just things about them personally, and they'd give me a word. And that was such a great word of knowledge. And then one day he said, I don't want you to do that anymore. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to turn everybody gray except the people I want you to prophesy to. I'm like, what? And I got there to the first meeting, and the whole group, when I started to minister prophetically, the whole group went gray, except certain people, their clothing were colored. Everything else, their colors, but everything else was gray. And I'm like, wow. I sat there. I remember the moment I'm sitting on this platform going to myself, going, this is really weird. And I didn't even know what to do with it for a while. I'm like, okay, there's one that's okay, I see the colors they're wearing and, all that. I'm like, okay, but he wouldn't give me anything right away. I literally had to call them to stand up. And that was another season. And then I went back to my cards, which I love because I'm like, it's a cheat sheet, right?
Right.
And then he stole that from me. He just totally stole all of that from me and took me down another path. I think that's true of our why, of our core value.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're each in a season. I feel like God has really taken and caused me to understand being present in the moment. I feel like I've captured most of that. I'm pretty good at it. I still have to work at it, but it's something that I have now owned, and I can take hold of that. And it's in my tool belt, if you wish. I don't have to fight so hard for it as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's another avenue coming for this, and actually that's in expressing it publicly again,
mm-hmm.
because I expressing in a public way through this podcast. Actually, mm-hmm. I didn't expect that. I didn't plan it. It was unprovoked by me. Thank you, Lord.
You got a call one day. Hey, Byron, what you doing?
Yeah, it was that text, and that Charisma sent me, and I'm like, what? And I knew that something was changing, just like we've talked. We knew there's so many things changing, and I know that he's sending me down a path of being able then to express my why in a way that to an audience that, I've been hidden for 20 years, guys. When I was in worship, I was with Integrity Music. I was with John Paul. I had international opportunity as I was on TV, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And then, John Paul sends me out prophetically and releases me, and I almost immediately get sent into hiding. Now, that didn't mean I didn't travel. It just means that I could be somewhere and say the same thing that the guy up there is saying, and 5 minutes earlier, and they're listening to that guy going, wow, that's amazing. I'm going,
revelation.
I went through that. And it was but then he sent me behind, into leaders' doors. He sent me into their offices and into the coffee shops and over meals. And I spent 20 years all over the world meeting with leaders. And it was a part of, again, that being present in the moment, learning to be and learning how to apply and activate my why, my heartfelt, life-giving moments, mm-hmm. without needing platform, without needing that. And it became, again, this all came from the word authentic, being real, genuine, mm-hmm. and authentic. Mm-hmm. And good I started going, yeah, well, but not for me, because what authentic, no, they're good words, but they didn't mean anything. It's like when a church says our value is relationship, I'm going, well, yeah, of course it is, but what does that mean to you? What's behind that? Tell me, give me something. And so the word authentic and genuine and real had lost their meaning for me. And to be honest, I feel like it's become a catchphrase. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, how do I express that myself? Mm-hmm. How do I express authenticity myself? And that's when I said, they're heartfelt moments. They're life-giving moments. Mm-hmm. And I think even through time, those words might change some. Mm-hmm. They might alter in season as well, because they'll have the same, because originally it was, I loved authenticity, I loved genuineness, and I loved the realness of people. Mm-hmm. But as those words became overused, and that for me, I needed something else to express that. Mm-hmm. Guys, we just went through a transition called the Warrior Class to the Warrior Commission.
Right.
And it was one word that needed change. Mm-hmm. And if I can be so bold as to say, I don't think that happened overnight. Mm-hmm. I think that took time to ponder and to pray and to press into the Lord and say, what are we really going for here? And, you know, that was for me, that was the final ticking of the box of transition from one to what God is doing now in the Warrior Commission. And yeah.
Yeah. And it's an exciting time because we're discovering what that expanded identity now means. You know, we didn't lose what we had before, but we stepped into a greater area, you know, which is just so God. You know, He's always taking us into the more He has for us, and the expanded activation and the expanded empowering, you know, to use those words that we have. And really, you know, what we're all discovering, whether we're individuals or as an organization, as a community, we consider the Warrior Commission to be more of an organism as a part of the body of Christ, you know. But in that, we're discovering what is our identity, what is our core of who we are, and then how do we live that out, and what does that look like, you know. And I think that although we could talk for more hours, I'm sure, you know, I think that this is a really great place just to kind of take the pause and, you know, and close this part out. But, you know, but I think as we move forward, I hope that people will take the time to discover their why or their core value of who they are, because that really is the place of motivation for you and how you connect and are present in the moment. So is there anything else you guys want to share before we close out?
I'm good. You've allowed me to speak and have freedom and unconditional love. And I feel like I've totally enjoyed this time with you guys. Not just to get to hear my own voice, but also to hear yours. I love that.
Yeah, I think there's so much that comes in the conversation, you know. And like you said to me, this is a life, you know, a heartfelt moment, you know, a life-giving heartfelt moment, because it is what that is, at least for me, as we talk and share and just share what God's put on our hearts. So thank you, Byron, for being here. Thank you for your time and sharing your heart and your core value, your why. And we look forward to seeing you guys another time as we go forward with our Warrior Commission Now YouTube channel, and also as we continue to have, normally we have our live views, our live channel on Thursday mornings at 7:30 Pacific time. So that's AM. So you guys are welcome to join us at that time. We would love to see you as we continue different conversations and topics about how you can live your Warrior Commission now. So thank you guys so much.
Yep.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.